Hey Philip, can you hear us?
Hey, I can hear you guys. How you doing?
Awesome. Good, good. I think this is the first time we've.
And in the meanwhile, we have a few questions we wanted to ask you. So if you go um, into the poll, you'll see the first question. How many emails do you receive per day? Almost there. Okay. So it looks like about 60% get 25 to 50 emails, and a quarter get 50 to 100, and 8% get 100 plus. Congratulations. This is actually really this is great. This is very manageable. And as we'll discuss later, this is, an average person gets well over 100 emails per day, so you're doing great. And how many browser tabs and apps do you have open? Uh-huh. Okay, so it's actually split, so about 40% between 1 and 5, and about 40% 10 or more. Uh-huh. So you guys will definitely need freedom. And last question. Or no, is it the last question, or do you have more? I think we have more.
This is the last one.
Ah, all right. Okay. It looks like almost split just about evenly. So a third 1 to 5 times per hour, a third 6 to 10, and a third 10 plus. Interesting. Okay. Yes, we can definitely, we all could use some help with this. All right. So thanks, folks, for answering the questions. This gives us some context for what to zoom in on. All right, so why don't we get started? And I assume everybody can see can see my screen, right? This is Dimitri. All right, so why are we here today? So Philip, thank you very much for joining us. We're really excited to do this with you.
My pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. Now, the missions of our two companies are remarkably similar. We're all about reducing distractions or eliminating them, actually. So at SaneBox, we've been working on helping the world be better at email and removing email distractions for about 7 years. And during that time, we learned that it's not only about having the right tools like SaneBox and or others, but it's also about kind of changing the way you think about email and really think about distractions, think about productivity. And we also saw that there's a kind of a class of people out there who are really good at processing just a tremendous amount of email and staying productive and not letting email rule their lives. And so what we've done is we kind of looked at kind of what those people do differently from the rest of us, and compiled this set of best practices, which we'll cover today. Philip?
Yeah, so Freedom is, started as actually our founder. This was a project of his when he was working on his doctoral dissertation. So he found the coffee shop that he was working in suddenly became more distracted when they added Wi-Fi, which they didn't have originally. So he wrote a script for himself to block himself from social media sites, which he found were distracting him from doing his work, and shared it online just to put it out there for people to use. And it became a hit. It was downloaded by millions of people across the world, and before we knew it, it was something that was very interesting to a lot of people. And so we've spent the last 2 years basically working on building a platform of Freedom where it's a synchronized product and app that works across all your devices, so that when you're in that work mode, you can block distractions from wherever they might be coming, whether it's on your phone or your tablet or your computer. And like you said, Dimitri, we are also just very interested in kind of the holistic aspect of focus and work and how people are productive and really get things done so that they can feel happier and get more accomplished in life. So you're right, very much a shared mission here, and it's really exciting to be doing this with you.
Excellent. All right, folks, so we'll cover a lot of stuff today, but please stay until the end. We have some gifts for you at the end of the presentation. And if for whatever reason you cannot stay until the end, we will follow up with everybody by email later today and send you, the link to the recording and the gifts as well, so you won't miss anything. All right, so what we'll cover today is just kind of some general principles behind, again, what we talked about, and some theory. So we'll talk about the flow and multitasking, how to manage your inbound emails and your outbound emails, and we'll switch gears. And so we'll do the SaneBox part of the webinar, and then we'll pass the baton to Philip to cover the rest. The rest of the agenda, the distraction, why does it matter, and how to manage distractions with setting up the right habits, and I assume not relying too much on your willpower. Is that accurate?
Yes, indeed, because it's actually a finite resource.
Excellent. All right, so let's dive in. So at SaneBox, we've been really interested in this idea of flow, and I don't know how much you've heard about it before, but essentially flow is this kind of a set of processes about which you can get into this kind of into the flow of your work, and not get distracted and really be in a so-called zone. And so we're not going to go in too much into these flow triggers, but we underlined the kind of what we think are the more important ones, and how email and distractions really just snap you out of the flow. And so this idea of single tasking is super important, and getting distracted by definition kind of takes you out of your single tasking mode and makes you multitask. And then, so this is kind of on the individual level. And then on the social team level, this idea of concentration and good communication is also absolutely critical. And so setting up the right culture within your company or within your team around this idea is really important as well. And again, we'll no need to memorize. You'll see all of this in your inbox later today. So when we did the poll earlier, it's really good to see that so many of us get less than the average number of emails. So an average office worker, so anybody with a laptop who relying on laptop for their work, receives about 150 emails per day and spends about 2.5 hours a day in their inbox. And this means, reactively responding to stuff in their email, clearing things, deleting things, archiving, and replying. So essentially, about a third of our time is spent on, or work time is spent on this completely reactive activity, which is not part of anyone's job description, unless you're doing customer service. And so it's really crazy to think that just in the last, let's see, 15, 20 years since email has become a daily thing, this amount of reactive work has kind of skyrocketed, and it's just it's not going to get any better. It's actually going to get worse. To make things even worse, and again because of the theory around distractions, email has become kind of our effective to-do list. So your inbox is how many of us are managing their focus, and as a result, there's a lot of studies done on how this affects our mood. It affects frankly, our physical health. There was a study done on office workers who had a heart rate monitor attached to them, and what they found is people who have access to email have a significantly higher heart rate, or heart rate fluctuations, which is just really bad for your mood and your health. So why is this such a problem? There were also interesting studies done on what's called the fixed versus variable reward system. And the fixed reward system is the specific study was using poor rats. The rats, which really have the short end of the stick in science, there were two groups. The first group had basically a lever, or what you see here, like a button in their cage, and there was a fixed number of times during which they would press the button. So it would be 10 times or 5 times, some specific number of times they would press the lever that would release the treat for them. So let's say the rat presses the button 10 times and it gets a treat. In the second group, it was a variable reward system. So it would be a completely random number of times they would have to press the lever in order to get the treat. And what they found is that second group got way more addicted to pressing the lever. And so these random intervals is essentially like a slot machine effect. It's because whenever you open your inbox, you don't know if you're going to get something interesting, but we have this urge to check. And so this makes us, this kind of feature of our brain makes us much more addicted to email. And then there's this idea of completion bias. Spending 2.5 hours a day on your email feels like a productive use of time because you're finishing something, you're clearing your inbox, it feels productive. But in reality, you're really not being productive at all. You're just doing short-term. It feels like progress, but it's really short-term progress versus real long-term progress, which is your own priorities that you should be focused on. So essentially, this becomes the problem of really multitasking. So what they found is, well, I'm sure all of you know this by now. There's really no such thing as multitasking. It's really task switching, and even the computer processors, which is kind of the first time that multitasking became a term, because a computer can run multiple applications at all times. But really what's happening is the computer switches from one task to another. So it makes it feel like it's multitasking, but really even the computer is single tasking. We are significantly worse at multitasking, and it takes us, depending on study you look at, it takes us about 30 to 60 seconds to switch from being focused on one task, switch to the next task, or get distracted by a task, and then to come back into the kind of the flow mode in the first task would take you about a minute to recover. So that was the theory. So now let's dive into the 3 email commandments. So the 3 email commandments are kind of the overarching principles that we found the best emailers stick to. So the first one is email is like Tetris. The more, or no matter how good you are at playing Tetris, and no matter how good you are at clearing out your inbox, more emails or Tetris blocks will keep coming. And just like in Tetris, they keep coming faster. So every year, the volume of email increases about 7%. So if today you're spending 2.5 hours a day, next year is going to be 7% more, and next year 7% more and more and more. So it's going to, unless you change something, you're going to lose. Just like in Tetris, nobody's ever won Tetris. So the solution here is you just have to change the game. You're not going to win at this game, so you have to change the way you think about it. Commandment number 2. Email has, and I touched on this briefly already, but email has become kind of our default #1 priority. We wake up in the morning, look at our inbox. We get to the office, open up our laptop, and also start working in our inbox. And it's kind of become this default #1 priority. The problem is that your inbox is basically a to-do list that other people add to. So if doing email is your unconscious #1 priority, that means other people's priorities are your top priority. And the solution to that is, we call it scan, block, ask. So scan your inbox for important and urgent emails first thing in the morning, deal with the fires that you absolutely have to deal with. And then close your inbox. And you can close it comfortably knowing that you've also blocked time for email on your calendar. So what we recommend is setting up 30-minute appointment, 1-hour appointment, however much time you need in your day for email time. And again, it depends on how much email you get. It depends on how important it is. But the key is to schedule email within your own priorities. So you control email instead of email controlling you. And then kind of a mindfulness exercise. Lastly, whenever you get sucked into doing email, and I'm doing the quotation marks with my fingers, doing email, ask yourself if clearing your inbox is the best use of your time right now. Most of the time, the answer probably will be no. There's probably something more important that you should focus on. Eventually you would need to get to it. But again, just be conscious about whether this is your top priority or not. All right. Commandment number 3, not all emails are created equal. The problem is that every email interface, whether it is a Outlook, Gmail, your phone, every email UI gives the same amount of space on the screen to every email. And so it tricks our brain into thinking that all emails are created equal. But in reality, that couldn't be further from the truth. There are really 3 kinds of emails. Important, let's go in order here. Unimportant, and these are the emails, this is just junk. Not spam, but just unimportant stuff that you should delete or archive. And bulk. And bulk is the key here. And we'll talk about how SaneBox helps you do that in a little bit. Important and urgent. These are the emails you need to deal with right now. Those are the fires that absolutely have to be put out. Then there's important, not urgent. And these are the emails that you should deal with later. Later today, tomorrow, next month, depending on the urgency of the email. But again, you have to think about them completely different. And so this brings us to the idea of inbox zero. And many people think that inbox zero is simply the act of having 0 emails in your inbox, as the name would suggest, but it's really not true. Inbox zero is a process through which you can consistently get to 0 emails in your inbox. And inbox zero comes from this idea of triage. And triage was developed by one of Napoleon's chief surgeons during Napoleonic Wars. And it was a process kind of used to determine the priority of treating patients based on the severity of their condition. And basically there were 3 groups. The patients that you really can't help very much, they're going to die no matter what you do. The second group is patients just with a minor scrape who just need to be quickly patched up and set on their way. And then the third group is the patients that really need work, that really need a significant intervention, and they really need the focus of the doctors to help them. And so this same idea is applied applied to emails. So the first bucket is the unimportant bucket. That's the noise. Those are the emails that, to kind of use the medical analogy, they're going to die anyway. You don't want to spend time on them. Deal with them quickly and move on. The second bucket is the quick fix. These are the emails that you should deal with in under 2 minutes. That's kind of the rule of thumb, is if you can deal with it in less than 2 minutes, deal with it now. And the third bucket is the real kind of the emails that require work. So you'll deal with them later today, tomorrow, or whatever, whenever you need to. So there are a specific set of actions that you can do with each of these groups. So the first bucket, the noise, these are the emails that you should delete or archive, depending on your preference. And again, do it in bulk. The second bucket, the quick fix. So if you can defer, meaning snooze or move it out of your inbox until you're ready. Delegate, meaning forward to someone else on your team or anyone else. And then respond. If you can respond to it within 2 minutes, just do it now. And if you do these 4 actions, the only emails left in your inbox will be the ones that is the do bucket. These are the emails that you will need to actually spend time to work on. Again, later today or tomorrow, whenever is important. So, and this is why we built SaneBox. So we started the company, like I said, 7 years ago, and our first solution was to help you deal with the unimportant stuff. And so what SaneBox does is, and I'll just show you quickly how it works. And by the way, this is obviously Gmail, but SaneBox works the same way in any email client, device, webmail, whatever you're using. All it does is basically, well, it has a bunch of features, but the first one we'll cover is the Sane Later folder. So it creates this folder called Sane Later, which is a folder for your unimportant emails. And it basically takes all of the noise and moves it into this folder. And what this allows you to do is quickly scan through this noise. And by the way, another interesting theory behind it is our brain is really good at spotting patterns. So when you're looking at this kind of sea of unimportant emails, it's very easy to quickly see something that catches your attention. Right, so like this email I might want to take a look at. And by the way, if something is in the wrong place, you just move it to from Sane Later to your inbox, or vice versa, to train SaneBox for what you want to see where. And so that's kind of very easy to train the algorithm to be even more accurate. And then when you're done with this, just select all, and I personally hit delete. And so I just process all of those emails essentially with one click. Now, if I really never want to hear from someone, I can move this email into the folder called black hole, Sane black hole. And I will never hear from that sender again. All future emails from the email or the sender I moved to Sane black hole will go straight to trash. So it's like unsubscribing, but easier and faster and safer. You can also customize SaneBox to create additional folders to create for different projects. For example, you can create a folder for family members that you don't want to kind of clutter up your inbox, and deal with them when you want to. All right. So we covered the unimportant bucket. So next, let's do the defer, delegate, or respond. So at SaneBox, we actually have a really awesome feature called Sane Reminders. So let's say if this project is important but not urgent, you can defer it by forwarding it to, let's say, tomorrow at 9 a.m. at sanebox.com. Or you could do 3 weeks at sanebox.com. Or you could do October 10 at sanebox.com. Pretty much any combination of times or dates will work. And when you hit send and then archive it, this email disappears from your inbox and it will reappear at the time you specified. So forwarding becomes really or sorry, snoozing it becomes really easy. So just send it to a timeline when you want to actually see it, and you're done. Now, same applies to, let's say, to replying to emails or forwarding. So if you, let's say, if you want to reply to someone or forward it to someone else, just CC or BCC 1 week at SaneBox.com. Same idea. So any time frame you can think of, or you can also put it in the BCC if you don't want the person to know that you're doing this. And basically, what happens is SaneBox will monitor whether or not Clint replied to you by the time you specify. If he replies, then nothing happens. Then there's no additional action. If he doesn't reply by this time, you get a reminder to follow up. So it's like a really lightweight CRM right in your inbox. So you can quickly see what emails haven't received a reply. Then we also have another feature called Sane No Replies, which is basically a folder that contains emails you sent that have not received a reply. So it's just a really quick way to see who hasn't gotten back to you, so you can follow up. And then lastly, the emails left will be the ones that you will require actual work, and you'll deal with them today. And if you won't deal with them today, then forward them to tomorrow or next week or whenever it becomes actionable for you. So at SaneBox, we have a bunch of other features, like really a lot. We're not going to bore you with them today, but you can check out SaneBox for yourself. We'll have a coupon code for you at the end of the presentation, so you can get an extended free trial. All right, so now we'll quickly go through advanced email hacks. So these are just some short, actionable things you can do with your email right away to make you a better emailer and more efficient. So if your email is kind of long, highlight the key takeaways in bold. It's just going to make the recipient's job much easier to process what you actually want from them. Doing all caps is not super helpful, and then bolding too much kind of misses the point. Now, why is Michael Jackson on this slide? The answer is here. This actually has nothing to do with email, but it's because your inbox is such an important part of your life. We highly recommend you do not get your email hacked. It's just gonna, well, if there's anything you don't want hacked, maybe your credit. The Equifax and your credit score may be more important, but email is equally important because everything else can be hacked if somebody has access to your inbox. So at SaneBox, we use a service called 1Password. There's also LastPass, and there's a few others you can use. But and so what those services do is they create and store a really long, really random, and basically impossible to guess password for each of your services online. So you don't have to use the same password for every website, because then if you use the same password, then if one of your passwords gets hacked, then basically all of your online activity is hacked. And so what this requires you to do is create a password for your 1Password. Or I personally have a long password for my email just because I want to always have access to my email. And so the hack here is to use. I used the word, I shouldn't use the word hack. Trick is to think of a phrase that you know by heart that you don't have to remember. So in this case, it's Billie Jean is not my lover. She's just a girl who claims that I am the one. So what you do is you start saying this phrase to yourself out loud, or well, maybe not out loud, and just type the first letter of each word as your password. And you don't have to remember this. It's super easy. And as you can see, it's pretty hard to guess. Now, it's better to not use a common phrase or song that everyone knows, just because some algorithms have started to figure out that this, that people are doing it. So, think of a phrase that only you know, and extra credit for capitalizing certain letters, like I in this case, and then putting numbers for number one. Don't fill out the recipient's address right away. A lot of times, at least I'm very guilty of this, I hit send and I immediately regret it. So the best practice is to, well, the problem is that every email interface, again, kind of tricks us into putting, if you think about composing an email, first thing you put is the recipient's address. Then you put the subject, then you put the body, and then add the attachment at the end. Really, this should be reversed. If you need to add an attachment, the email is usually about the attachment. So put the attachment first, compose the body, proofread the body, and then once you do that, you actually know what the subject should be because you can summarize. Now you know what the email is really about. You can make the subject actionable, and then once you're done proofreading all of this, add the recipient and then hit send. That way, you're not going to regret it immediately. And then in Gmail, there's also an awesome feature called undo send. So you can basically hit send, and then you have up to 30 seconds to hit undo. Basically, what it's doing is it's waiting to actually send the email, but that just gives you some extra time. We see this one all the time. People just use their inbox as an archive. They just deal with the email and leave it there. This is basically like opening up envelopes from your physical snail mail mailbox and reading them and then stuffing them back into your envelope. Your inbox is meant as a place for stuff you haven't processed yet. That's the purpose of the inbox. So if you have a bunch of old emails in your inbox, make a new folder, like right now, do it now, call it old mail or call it archive or call it Bob, whatever you need. Take all those old emails and move them there, and your inbox will be clean. And you can start with inbox 0, and then it'll be much easier for you to stay at inbox 0 from there. Using the subject wisely. This is really important. Subject, and many times nowadays, people will only read the subject and then discard your email if they don't like it. So it's super helpful to make it actionable and make it searchable. So make it clear what you want. You can put tags like time sensitive or action item or no need to reply, NNTR, or NRN, no reply necessary. This is actually really nice because it kind of takes some of the pressure off of the recipient. If you can put the whole message into the subject, kind of like a SMS, just put it in the subject and put EOM at the end of message, so they don't have to click and open it. And then my favorite is receiving an email with not urgent in the subject. That just makes it feel like I just won time back in my day. Don't unsubscribe from suspicious emails. We see this one all the time. Our customers go on a unsubscribe binge, unsubscribe from a bunch of stuff, and then end up being added to more mailing lists. This is because when you're unsubscribing from a sender with not so high integrity, you're basically exposing yourself as a human who cares about their email. So you become a spamming marketer's dream come true. This is why we built a same black hole feature. So if you move an email into the same black hole folder, we're not really unsubscribing you, but just all future emails will go straight to trash. So it's effectively like unsubscribing, except easier. This is a good one. If you're before hitting reply all, check if you're CC'd and not, CC'd and not BCC'd. If you're BCC'd and you hit reply all, now you're really embarrassing the sender, the original sender, because only you and the sender know that you got the email, and so other people in the CC line will think it's very odd. So just a quick one. Email is great for closed-ended questions, kind of like a multiple choice. It's really not that great for open-ended questions, like that. So if your email ends with thoughts ? Then it's probably a better phone conversation than an email. Lastly, and this is not really a tip, but just an observation. So we found that there's a class of people who are really busy and they get thousands of emails a day. Like literally, we have one. I remember one customer who got 2,000 emails a day, and he gets to inbox 0 pretty much every day. How do they do this? They have the right system for dealing with emails, and usually that means inbox 0. They have the right tools, like SaneBox. And in fact, I think half of the venture capitalists in the country use SaneBox because they get so much email and they really need they need this prioritization, and they just think about email the right way. They have the right process. They they don't let email control them. They control it instead. All right. Now it's Phil's turn. I'm going to pass the presenter rights. By the way, folks, if you have any questions, please type them in the questions box as we go. We'll try to address them during the presentation, and then if we have time in the end, we'll address them live as well.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Dimitri. That was fantastic. I just want to say I'm always amazed when I use SaneBox. I marvel at how smart it is. It's amazing what you guys have built. So, folks, if you haven't checked it out yet, you really should. It's quite an amazing product.
Thank you.
So yeah, today we're talking about how to remove distractions and have the time to do what matters most to you, whatever that might be. Let's back up a little bit though. I want to talk about a huge struggle that's at play here and why we're kind of in the throes of a battle, and frankly, many of us are losing it. Let's consider for a moment what we want in life. When most people are asked this question, what do you want in life? What will make you happy or fulfilled? They talk about things like time with family and friends, time for causes and things they care about, time to read, experiences, travel, adventures, and time to work, create, and be productive. And so, today we've been talking mostly about productivity, and we're going to continue on that theme. But the common theme here amongst all these things that we want is time, and time is our finite resource, and it's so important. And if we look at are we really using that time or doing what we want with it? How much progress do we make toward those things that we want to do with our time? For many of us, the answer is, well, it's slow, or not much, or I will soon, or someday. We don't always focus on what makes us happy. Why? Well, for many of us, the problem is that we're distracted. Distracted by what? Well, the biggest distractions that many of us have are digital distractions. These are distractions from technology. And let's be clear with what we're talking about here. These are the notifications, the red dot and the app icon, social media, news feeds, news sites, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, apps like social, dating, shopping, Snapchat. Here's one of my big ones: work dashboards, marketing metrics, revenue, email performance, Slack channels, project boards, analytics. We can get in the habit of just looking at these things constantly, and our time just goes with it. And Dimitri's talked about email. This is really one of our biggest sinkholes. Dimitri's shared some awesome techniques and ways to manage that. There's shopping, there's Amazon, eBay, video games, the list goes on. I think you know what I'm talking about. So if we look at the numbers, for adult Americans, the average adult American spends 2 hours a day on social media. This is a recent study. And every time when we're working on something, when we're focused on a task, whether it's writing or doing a business report or working on some kind of project that we need to get done, every time that we're interrupted by a notification, something in a news feed, checking our email, it takes an average of 23 minutes for our mind to get back into that original state that it was in when we were focused on that task. 23 minutes every time we're interrupted. And our polls here at Freedom Week did a poll asking people how many days in a week are you affected by digital distractions every day of the work week. 100% everyone said digital distractions negatively affect their work week every day of the week. And multitasking, Dimitri talked about this. This is 40% less productive. We think we're getting a lot more done as we're bouncing around through our browser tabs and looking at all the different things we've got going on. Ultimately, we're doing less. So we talked about what we want. What does technology want? Well, more clicks, more time on site, higher conversion rates, essentially to hold your attention as long as it can. Frankly, things that I'm interested in as a digital marketing person. But you need your time, and technology wants and needs your time. And I'm using the word technology here in a sense to denote tech that requires our interaction and behavior. We're not anti-technology. We build software, obviously. But our mission is to help people understand and manage their relationship with this interactive or behavioral technology. So when it comes to us or technology, who do you think gets what they want? Well, for the most part, it's technology winning the battle for your time. Because the designers of social media, games, apps, these are experts in human psychology and behavior, and they know how to get what they want by exploiting primal aspects of who we are as humans and building addictive behavioral triggers into their products. And we can fight this, but we're not so well equipped to win. So the dilemma, what do we want? We want our time. What does technology want? It wants our time. This is a problem because our time is finite, right? So we had a recent guest on our blog. His name's James Sweeney. I love this quote I want to share with you. He said, "Our most sincere and heartfelt hopes and dreams for our lives go far beyond spending another 20 minutes on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or Pinterest, etc. We don't define another 20 minutes on social media as a step toward our ideal lives, but still we go there." And what do we lose? By not having control of our time, we lose those things we want the most. Time alone, time to read, think, contemplate, time with family and loved ones, time to do deep work, time to make a difference and do what matters most. And it looks like we're becoming more unhappy. Recent studies have found that there's a direct correlation between how much time a person spends on social media and how unhappy they are. And when we're talking about our time for work, the term that we're commonly using is productivity. And I think it's a word that can encompass a lot more about who we are and what we do as humans. It's not just about getting more done or meeting a deadline, though it certainly can be. But if you think about it, we're never more productive than when we're obsessively focused on something. The product of focused work can be great stuff, like solving a hard problem, launching and growing a company, writing a book or a blog, creating music, cultivating a relationship. So a reward of intense productivity is something elusive that we don't often talk about, and it's joy. Our time is finite. We want to look back and be happy with how we used it. So getting something done, creating something where there was nothing before, words, music, code, a business report, whatever our work might be, when we create, the satisfaction, it's so much greater than consuming a Facebook post or a BuzzFeed article or an email or a text. The joy can transform us and compel us to produce more. But we need to experience that and live it in order to believe it. We need to get to work. So how do we convince our mind and our body that deep work has great value when we're continually giving attention to these subconscious prompts that feel urgent, but they're not so important? So we spend a lot of time here at Freedom thinking about these questions and how we can empower people to tap into their deep creative selves. Why is it so hard? And Dimitri talked about this already, but as humans, we're wired, if you will, to respond to stimuli in a certain way. And technology designers are well aware of this, and they know exactly how to exploit it. They're experts at this. There are three things that contribute to the struggle. Tech design. So we recognize that there's a problem. We all kind of know this. We kind of know that we're distracted, but still we struggle if we try to just will our way through it. We try to use willpower. Actually, the studies show that when we do that, when we try to use our willpower to overcome something like distractions, that our willpower is a finite resource as well, just like our time. It's depleted. We no longer have the ability to do it after a time. That's something the habit experts, if you will, know very well. Our human nature, a major driver is unpredictable feedback. Will my post attract likes, shares, comments, and so on? Will I have an email the next time I check my account? This uncertainty, it's just like gambling or lotteries. It's very appealing to us as humans. We return to an experience over and over again if it promises the possibility of something positive or positive feedback, even as it threatens to deliver potentially negative feedback, like having a post ignored or finding that your email inbox is empty when you wanted to see something, or filled with unwanted mail, for example. And third, there's some physiology involved here. Random notifications and the endless flow of information on our feeds stimulate the production of two main chemical rewards, dopamine and oxytocin. And this is the physiological underpinning of the reward system that Dimitri spoke of. Dopamine causes us to search, seek, and desire novelty, which naturally makes us curious to explore and consume new information. So we're always looking for that next little piece, that next little notification or email or number on our dashboard, whatever it might be. Oxytocin is known for its ability to affect feelings of intimacy and bonding. It's a stimulant for good feelings of love, empathy, trust, compassion. So when we post or comment or like or share, we receive the same in return. Our oxytocin levels rise and we feel more connected, included, and happy. It's a short-term thing though, and the stimulation of this social media not only makes us feel good, but leaves us wanting more, and it goes away very quickly. We begin to crave these chemicals, dopamine and oxytocin, and it becomes addictive. So what do we do? The key here is to think about our relationship with technology in terms of being controlled as opposed to compulsive. And of course, it's easy to say that, but as we've seen, willpower isn't sufficient. The odds are stacked against us because of technology design. So we need to have the tools to do this. So one of the keys, and you find this in a lot of things in life, of course, is to start small. If we want to regain control, regain the ability to focus and get back our time so we can do those things that matter most. So start small. Remember that problem with willpower is it turns out we have tools to help us so we don't have to rely on willpower. And Freedom is one such tool. So Freedom is an app that you install on all your devices, on your Mac, Windows computer, and on your iOS phone and tablet. And then you select the websites and the apps that you want to block and when you want to block them. Then you do what you want to do. If you try to access those distractions, those websites or apps, you get a calming green screen that reminds you that you've blocked that site and get back on task. So your Freedom blocks, or your Freedom sessions, if you will, they're synchronized across all your devices. You can select which devices they're going to be run on. So in this case, if you're seeing my screen with my cursor here on the screen, I've got 3 devices in this device selection here, a Mac and 2 iOS devices. And you can have as many devices here as you want. And then you can schedule a recurring session for various days of the week, or you can have a session that starts immediately, or you can schedule it to start later within the current day. So a lot of people find that if they set a recurring schedule, they set Freedom to start automatically at a time that they find most productive on a regular basis, let's say like 1 to 3 in the afternoon on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, for example, or maybe just 25 minutes on certain days, that is a great place to start to build a habit. This becomes your deep work time that you have on a regular basis. The regularity of that routine, it helps you to break the habits of distraction and build new habits of focus. So you kind of get back in that mode of where we've all experienced it. We know those times when we've just felt like we were really on, we were in the flow, as Dimitri said, that we've actually been really connected to our minds and producing our best ideas and getting them out there. So that habit of focus starts to replace the habit of distraction that's developed. So we talk to our the Freedom community. We find out what is this done? What are you doing by eliminating the distractions? And so we went right to the source. We surveyed thousands of Freedom users to understand how things have changed for them since they started blocking distractions. And so the average Freedom user estimates that they gain about 2.5 hours a day. They also are 80% more productive, and 85% say they become a better coworker and more valuable to their company and their colleagues. And ultimately, they also feel more in control and happier. So digital distractions are a large part of what keeps us from doing the things that matter, but taking care of digital distractions is just part of what you might call mindful living, or living in balance in this case with technology, so that we can be our true selves. So what else can you do? Well, a few things, and you probably see these a lot in some of the articles that are telling us how, you should get more sleep, you should be more active, but it's all true. There's studies to back it, and being tethered to our devices tends to make us less active. So put it down, go for a walk, ride your bike, be active in whatever way you most enjoy. Sleep, keep your devices out of your bedroom and your workspace. The myth of the Einstein genius with the cluttered space has been busted. Continual studies show that having an organized space with few distractions will help you be more focused and productive. And finally, take breaks. Try working in 25-minute increments. You may have heard of the Pomodoro technique, the tomato timer, which it's a great place to start. Just take those 25 minutes, shut out all your distractions, and focus on the task at hand. Here's some resources that can also help you keep up with the latest research, the tips and techniques, and help you get inspired to improve your relationship with technology. So Time Well Spent. This is by Tristan Harris. He's a former Google engineer who knows very well the capabilities of the huge tech companies and how they can engineer habitual and addictive behavior. A lot to learn there, a lot of great resources, a lot of great reading. Another, It's Time to Log Off. This is a resource for digital detox retreats, resources, and other research, some good reading there. Our own blog, Freedom Matters. That's where we share tips and techniques for managing distractions, as well as inspiring interviews. We have a lot of authors, artists, and really super productive people, and we learn from them how they manage their distractions. These are some books, and these are all authors that we've featured on our blog. And I've got the Deep Work by Cal Newport kind of in the center here, and this is the core concept of what we're talking about, being able to do deep work, to really focus in a way that we can tap into all the capabilities of our mind and what we're able to do. And so he lays out what he calls rules for focused success in a distracted world. These other books, excellent reading, all of them, various perspectives on the problem and certain aspects of the problem. Irresistible by Adam Alter. This is the rise of addictive technology and the business of keeping us hooked. Goes very deep into what we've been talking about in terms of tech design and how it has been, how it's evolved to have a really profound understanding of human psychology and behavior, and in order to get us to do what they want us to do with technology. So a few resources there. Highly recommend all of those. So in conclusion, we can win the battle for our time and attention, but we need tools like SaneBox and Freedom to help. So go do some awesome things, and thanks for listening. Back to Thomas and Dimitri, and we'll take some questions.
Thank you. Awesome. Yeah, the Deep Work was a fantastic book.
Yeah, Cal's got some. I mean, just regularly his blog. He's really inspiring, as well as just a lot of practical advice and tips.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you guys get get it back to you there? The presenter.
Yes. So we got the presenter rights back. So first, let's talk about the free gift that we promised everyone. So if you, by the way, can everyone see my screen? Okay. I assume so. So a lot of the tips, the email tips specifically that we've covered during the SaneBox part, are in our Amazon ebook. It's 99 cents at Amazon, but you can get it for free at this link, bit.ly/crush email. If you want to sign up for SaneBox and want to get a $25 credit towards a subscription, just go to this link. It's sanebox.com/freedom. And if you've already signed up while you were listening to the webinar, just ping us at support@sanebox.com, and we'll be happy to add the credit for you retroactively. And last but not least, thank you, Phil, for giving a 40% off of any Freedom plan. Just use this code, same bundle, or go to this link, and you'll get 40% off of any Freedom plan. So these are the gifts that we promised. And does anybody have any questions? The easiest is to ask in the questions box up here. Nico mentioned that his favorite productivity tool is LaunchBar and SaneBox. Thank you. I actually haven't used LaunchBar nor heard of it, so I'm definitely going to check it out.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one either. Huh. Very cool. Good to learn a new one.
I'm just quickly looking here. It looks like it is a. Looks like it's a shortcut tool for a Mac. Very cool. I'm all about the shortcuts. Nice. It's the command line for apps and data. Yeah, perfect. Very cool. Thank you. That's and it's very timely because the battery on my Mac mouse just went out. So this couldn't be more of a sign to check it out. Awesome. Well, folks, unless anybody has any other questions, we can adjourn. And if you do have any questions related to SaneBox or to email in general, just don't hesitate to ping us at support@sanebox.com. We have an amazing support team, which is really good at answering not just SaneBox related questions, but any questions, because basically whenever anything goes wrong with people's email, they always blame us because we're like the first line of defense. So we've gotten really good at solving any email problem.
I'll jump in with kind of the same recommendation there. Support at freedom.to. Our support team is fantastic with helping understand, what's working, what's not working, why things are working, how VPNs and proxies and so forth. So any of those kind of questions, and especially anything to do with freedom and blocking your distractions, just drop us a line.
Nice. And Phil, so we have a question from Caroline. How would you recommend to set up Freedom once you're used to using it? Continue with 25-minute intervals or block larger time slots?
Well, I would guess, not to kind of bounce on the question, but it seems like that would be a personal thing. I find personally I like to work in longer increments than 25 minutes, but that depends. I mean, a lot of people stay with the 25-minute, and they do the Pomodoro technique on a regular basis and continually don't necessarily advance to longer work sessions than that, and then just take 5-minute breaks and do another 25 minutes. So it's somewhat of a personal thing, but I would say probably if you feel the capacity to do so, I would start advancing toward longer sessions. Sure.
Makes sense. Question from Raymond. Do you have gifts for people who are a subscriber already? Well, besides the Amazon ebook, just ping us at support. Well, for SaneBox, ping us at support@sanebox.com, and we'll be happy to add the $25 credit again retroactively. So no hard feelings. And Nico commented that SaneBox's tech support is very good. Thank you. I know Stephanie who's heads up our support team is listening as well, so I'm sure she'll appreciate hearing this. Another question for Phil. Can Freedom exclude work-related websites from being blocked, since I also get tempted to go to social media sites after using the work-related site?
I think if I understand correctly, what you're talking about is actually a feature that we're getting very close to launching called whitelisting, where you can actually say, I only want to be able to access my my work sites or what I'm using specifically for my work. So the answer is soon. We're working on it and looking forward to getting that feature out.
Okay. All right. Question from Katie. I have Freedom and want to add SaneBox. How do I get the discount? My annual Freedom subscription just renewed, though I've not gotten it to work.
Well, I think both of those questions can be answered with drop a quick email to support@freedom.co and we'll be happy to retroactively apply that discount, but also to make sure that Freedom's working for you.
Yeah, and Katie, for SaneBox, if you haven't signed up, just go to sanebox.com/freedom and sign up from